Once again, we're back here in the Lamborghini section of my garage. Now, a while back, we did the P400S, that Miura there, the orange one. This is a P400. This is a very, very early production car. I've had this car for a long time, easily 25 years. A guy gave it to me because it wasn't worth anything anymore. It was an old, broken down sports car. This car was originally bought by Dean Martin. Dean Martin was the first owner. His son Dino, I understand, drove it to school, to high school. Well, how cool is that? Your dad's Dean Martin, and you get a Lamborghini to drive to school. And like most kids, I understand he was a little hard on it, and I think he went over some kind of a berm, cracked the oil pan, the oil leaked out, the engine seized, and the car was essentially junk. A buddy of mine got the car with a blown engine, could not afford to fix it at the time, and he just had it for years and years. And then eventually I had done him some favors and he gave it to me. And what I did was repair the motor. The nice thing about the car is it had never been hit, never been damaged. Just the engine blew up. And since Lamborghini engines are not really numbered, you can swap and match them. I mean, it's all proper. We just fixed the pan and fixed the block and did what had to be done. When Ferruccio Lamborghini pulled this up in front of the casino at Monte Carlo and parked it out front, I believe in 1966, people went nuts. They just thought it was the wildest car they'd ever seen, and they ordered them. And he had no real intention of actually building the thing. But then when he saw how much demand there was, they started banging them out, and this is one of them. As I said, very, very early production car. I believe this is car 127. And now the first bunch of cars, up to about car 100 or maybe 120, 130, very thin aluminum panels. And the other car has electric windows. This has wind-up windows. The way you open the hood is you have these on each side. Now, as you see, it's your standard Miura V12. This does not have a split sump. The SV has the separate oil for the transmission. This one, much like a motorcycle or like a Mini, which is actually where Lamborghini got the idea, this shares the oil with the engine. Not the best idea, but it works okay as long as you change the oil fairly regularly. This car does not have a reinforced chassis. This thing flexes like this when you go down the road. And once you get over 120, 125 miles an hour, the front end kind of lifts and the steering it gets pretty light. But forget that, it's a Lamborghini. I like the fact that all four tires are basically the same size. You know, this is before the era of the big wide tire in the back and the fender flares and all that kind of stuff. Let me show you under the hood here. Like all Miuras, spare tire goes there, modern battery, those are the original fans. This is a pretty straight car. Everything is not all nice and shiny. It's a little greasy, it's a little dirty, because this is a working car. This is a car I use not every day, but certainly a couple of times a month. I commute to work in it. Not much else I can tell you that we haven't covered in the other Lamborghini piece. If you watch the other piece, we go into some of that stuff in a bit more detail. The only thing I can say is you can really feel the difference between this car and the orange car over there. The orange car is a 69 that had a few years to strengthen the chassis, do some upgrades, a little more horsepower. I think that one's 375 horsepower. This one's about 350. There's no air conditioning, there's no electric windows. Very light car. I think this thing is 2,600 pounds, something like that. You can't build them this light anymore. There's no bumper protection. You can't drive this anywhere. You can't park it anywhere because if you come back, it'll be dented or somebody will play with it. So you just kind of leave the garage, you go in a big circle, and then you go back home again. There are certain tricks to getting a Lamborghini to run correctly. A lot of people say they overheat. Well, they don't overheat if you know how to get around that problem. Here's what you do. You see, since you got your radiator here, and this water runs down below the chassis all the way back to the engine, you get air bubbles. So what you do if you have a Lamborghini like this, you start it up, you put it on a bit of a hill, you get it nice and hot, you open this bleed screw here, you just turn it, you'll hear and then water will start coming out of it. As soon as the water squirts out of it, open and close it a couple of times, bleed the air out, shut it, and it won't overheat. All right, it might get a little hot, but it won't overheat. Or at least it'll run a lot cooler than if you don't do that. These early Miuras are notorious for catching fire. Obviously, when they were new, they had insulated wire, but over the years, the wires rub on chassis parts. So if you have any Italian car from the 60s, use one of these battery disconnect switches. because you know if you shut it off at night, it won't burn down in the garage while you're sleeping. And if it should catch fire while you're driving, you can stop, pull over, and pull this out and at least stop the electrical connection. So always put a battery disconnect switch in your vehicle, any older vehicle. I guess the only thing now is to take it for a ride. You have to lock both sides of the hood. And in the usual Italian tradition, none of the switches are labeled. So you just have to keep flicking switches if you haven't driven in a while to try to figure out what's what. Any Italian car, you got to give it a good 5 or 6 minutes to warm up. Let's pull it outside and we'll let it warm up. Miuras were never quite perfected, but the later cars, the S and the SVs, were much better cars. But on the other side, these early cars have such a purity to them, and they're so light. And 350 horsepower in 1966 was a lot of horsepower. Setright, the journalist, the English guy, was the first guy to sort of christen it as the supercar. See, our gauges have come off the peg and we're nice and warm. We can start to give it a little bit of stick now. Nice thing about this car is it's got the original dashboard and everything in it. You have to be fairly deliberate with the gearbox. You can't really slam shift. You can shift quickly, but you don't want to slam shift it too hard. And I have this lovely wood rim steering wheel. I always love a wood wheel. You can't have a wood wheel anymore because it's illegal, or people will get splinters, or some lawyer will sue you. But there's some reason you can't. A lot of people complain they don't fit in the Miura. I don't mind this kind of go-kart-like driving position. You kind of have your knees apart with the wheel right here. It's a lot of fun. I just like this period because design ruled everything. Designers beat out everything. No safety issues, no bumpers, no extra thick thing here in case you roll over. If you roll over, well, it's your fault. You're an idiot. The engine and transmission share the same oil. So if you throw yourself into a violent left-hander or right-hander, all the oil will go to the other side, and you see your oil pressure go, whoa! So you got to be a little careful of that. In fact, one time I was driving this car. You see these carburetors right behind my head here? It's kind of cool to be able to look in the rearview mirror and see the throttle linkage working. Well, I'm going down the street and look in the rearview mirror and I go, it's raining. I just cleaned the car and it's raining. And I look out the windshield and I realize, well, it's not raining out the front. And I look back and I realize, oh, one of my fuel hoses had come off and it was just going back and forth, spraying the carburetors with gasoline. So, I pull off the side of the road, I open the hood and I hear bing, bing, bing. And I'm just sitting there with my fire extinguisher waiting for this thing to explode into flames. Luckily it didn't. Whew. But always carry a fire extinguisher. And if you think it's raining, it's not. It's your carburetors. If you notice, Miuras only have a rear view mirror. There are no mirrors on the fenders. The thinking being at the time, what are the chances anyone would pass you? You know, if you think you have a problem, you just step on the gas and you pull away. And they do make a lovely sound. And if you don't try to take it to its limits, it handles pretty nicely. If you're driving like a go-kart, you're probably going to get into trouble. If you drive it fairly maturely, you can get to A to B pretty quickly. In fact, very quickly. You know, this is an era when cars were really small. It's amazing how big and wide even your everyday commuter cars have gotten, I guess because people are now big and wide. But to me, this is just the perfect size for a sports car. You know, a Lamborghini can't exist without you. It leaks oil, it has little electrical problems. You know, you're always fixing it. You're always attending to its needs. But when you get it right, oh, it's like nothing in the world. Anyway, this is a nice original car, 44,000 miles. In fact, right now, I'm going to see if I can go out and double that mileage. See you next week.